What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special edition because you know it's special because I got my lightsaber out of Nerd Initiative, where tonight we are going to be talking about the Acolyte. Now, I am your resident host tonight, Matt. You might have seen me on things such as Turn a Page. Maybe you know me from my comic book reviews. Maybe you've seen me on a little show called Hops Geek News, where each and every week we talk about pop culture, a lot of good stuff we do here, right? But tonight in particular, we are going to be talking about The Acolyte with the first two episodes premiering last night. Man, a lot of good stuff to get into before we do that, though. You know, the bosses, we got to let them know, right? Hey, like, subscribe, share. Go to the subscribe button on YouTube if that's where you're watching. Go ahead, hit it. Make sure everybody knows. You don't want to miss a notification because that would just be awkward and embarrassing because, man, we do so many good things each and every night on Nerd Initiative. Wednesday, you already know it's new comic book day, so we got the new comic book recommendations for you. And on Monday nights, Tom has been holding it down from the underground, where he is out there doing a lot of good Doctor Who post-episode shows. Now, man, I'm going to be joining him. Lauren's going to be joining him. It's a good time. So make sure if you're watching Doctor Who, you definitely want to be on that. And normally, I'm here with Ken, Tom, all of them. Make sure you go ahead and follow all of those good guys because, man, I don't know what to tell you. Those Ken's hardest working man out there in comic books. Follow Ken in the ODPH podcast for all the good sports. They just interviewed Kelly Thompson, for example. Really good interviews there. And then, of course, our pop culture connoisseur is Tom. Like I said, he's doing the really good stuff. And then I can't forget our guy in the chair typically is Rich. But I'm flying solo tonight, man. You can go ahead and click this QR code, and that's where you can find me and Lauren each and every week. And so without further ado, man, there's a little Star Wars show that's going on. You might have heard of it. The first release of Star Wars, The Acolyte, has dropped. And man, it was a really good one. First two episodes last night. I have been waiting for this show for a long time. It's been amongst my favorite. I've been wanting to be in the High Republic era. If you don't know what the High Republic era is, now it takes place, few hundred years before the Battle of Yavin, which takes place, BBY is typically what's called Battle of Yavin. High Republic, you got a lot of the Jedi are basically at the peak right before they start to descend into their downfall. They have defeated the Sith. The Sith are hidden, and at this point, the Nihil are also gone. And so at the High Republic, man, they're just talking politics. They're hanging out. They kind of get high on their own supply, and so the Jedi are about to witness their downfall. So this particular show takes place 100 years before the events of the Phantom Menace. So yeah, Yoda's out there running around. You might see some familiar characters that don't really become big players until Star Wars, the Phantom Menace, and onward. But we're not really focusing on them. Big things, though, we will get into is there's always the rule of two with the Sith, which I'll explain in a minute after I go ahead and share some of this excellence on social media myself, because, hey, I got to make sure that everybody out there knows where to find us. And if you're doing the same, get in the chat. Let me know what your favorite parts about this was. And let's hang out together, man. So The Acolyte, it stars a pretty heavy-hitting cast, actually, surprisingly, man. We have Amandla Stenberg, who you might have known from, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. She's been in a lot of really great movies lately. Daphne Keane is playing Jecki, who is a Padawan in this. She, her, Logan, man. Everybody has seen Logan. If you're a comic book movie fan, if you're into Marvel, if you're into Wolverine, she was there. She played, she's going to be maybe our new Wolverine. Who knows what's going on? And then Lee Jung-jae, you know him from Netflix's Squid Games. Something really incredible about this is he has been learning English, and to kind of step into this role and crush it like he's been doing is really hats off to him. Has been absolutely amazing. And then from there, we also have Manny Jacinto, who plays Queemir. I hope I pronounced that right. By the way, if you know anything about me, I'm terrible with names, especially when it comes to Star Wars names. However, you also know him from The Good Place. If you've never seen The Good Place, it was on Netflix for a point. He's in this, and I have some theories about him myself, man. Carrie-Anne Moss, Trinity. Everybody knows Trinity from The Matrix. She makes an appearance, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. We are going to be talking about spoilers, so if you have not watched the first two episodes yet, man, that's your chance. Get out of here. Come back to this later on, because I am going to be spoiling this. That's what we're going to be talking about. So episode 1 is called Lost and Found. This opens up the entire show on the planet Ueda, basically, where we see a mysterious figure. Who is this? And May, as we come to find out who she is, played by Amandla Stenberg. Now she's got some drip, man. She's kind of awesome. She's walking in here. She's got the knives. She has no lightsaber. She's a Force user, which I will also get into in a second. But she has no lightsaber, man. She walks into a cantina. Stop me if you heard this before. But she walks in there and she rolls up to Carrie Ann Moss's character and is essentially like, "Hey, we have unfinished business." Um, who she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what are you talking about?" Which Carrie Ann Moss character, by the way, is Indara. She's essentially, "I don't know what you're talking about, man. This is all news to me. What's up? I don't know you." And then that's when, May is essentially like, "I want you to attack me with everything you've got as a Jedi." And she's like, "Bro, no, we don't attack. That's not how the Jedi are. We're peacekeepers." So at that point, she starts a fight, and this is where some really cool action sequences. This is actually really, really awesome shot. I loved and was really excited to see Carrie Ann Moss kind of do some really cool things because if you know Star Wars at its core, they take a lot of influence from like the samurai and old Japanese fighting and kind of those type of artistic style of shooting and things. And so we get a little bit of that. One thing I really loved right off the bat is we jump right into the combat. They are fighting hand to hand combat. So the lightsaber actually doesn't even come out yet. We see Carrie Ann Moss fighting. She just going to town, the two of them. Oh, who is this? We got somebody in here. Do I bring this guy in? Who's this guy right here?
Well, I got to come running in and obviously support the team. And we just got done recording ODPH talking Acolyte. And I was like, well, what? Matt's talking Acolyte. I should probably be talking Acolyte with him. So here we are. What is going on?
What's up, man? We are talking some Acolytes. Perfect timing as we're gonna be talking about spoilers like I've talked to everybody, but let's go with you, man. What are your initial thoughts on the Acolyte so far? The first two episodes are released. Let's hit some people with the first initial thoughts that you got.
So the initial thought I had was they really came out with a very, very solid episode. I really thought that they did a lot of world building for what the time period is for it. I think that a lot of fans might not be really, very polarizing about it, so to speak, because this is a whole introduction into the High Republic. So unless you're somebody that's really into the fandom, really pushing that point and really connecting on that level, that this is going to be all new. And I think there's a lot of bit of skepticism because obviously Skywalker isn't involved. Vader is not here. This is a whole new uncharted territory. And I think for a lot of fans, they're not, connecting with it so much to speak, but this is also a lot of world building.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that, because obviously you read a lot of Star Wars. Pad reads a lot of Star Wars. I read Star Wars. So we all have this idea about, what to expect with this. But for anybody that just watches the movies and that's it, this is something that's catching them off guard. But I thought they did a solid job about building up what they're trying to do here. By episode 2, I thought they really gave you an idea about where the story is possibly going, but I still think they're holding a lot of cards to the vest.
I would definitely agree with that. It kind of started off a little slow, and I seen some people are like, "Oh, it's kind of dragging, it's kind of this," which I didn't even think it started off slow. Like right from the get go, like I was just talking about, man, we get some really cool hand to hand combat where these Jedi are not afraid to use the Force. The Jedi that a lot of people kind of know in the Skywalker saga, if you will, they don't really do a lot of the Force pushes, the different things like that. But Carrie Ann Moss, she just jumps right up the landing very gracefully. They're battling. There's knives that are being thrown. She's stopping them with the Force. Like it's really leaning into what Star Wars was kind of originally thought to be, which is, hey, this is that old samurai Japanese style fighting, which I personally, man, I'd loved to see that.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought the intro segment of episode 1, I thought really set a high pace. Like I really thought like, okay, if this is what this is all going to be about, I'm here for it.
Yeah. And obviously though, Carrie Ann Moss, I don't know why I always want to say her name weird. We got pretty much her entire arc of this show in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
As she's distracted trying to save one of the patrons of the bar, as Jedi do. They're saviors. They try to keep the peace. They try to save the innocents when and where they can. And unfortunately, she takes a knife right to the chest. And you're left with this whole like confusion because it's like, what is the beef here? She's saying that you did this to me. I'm coming out for revenge. and you don't really know who May is yet. She just is there to cause havoc and kill Jedi. That's all she's really there to do, because at some point they wronged her, which we will get to in a minute, because I kind of have some deep dives into that. But from there, we then see May again. Is it May? Who knows? Amandla Stenberg is now waking up on a
Yeah.
ship. So what were your thoughts? Were your first thoughts like, wait, was she having a dream? Because I know my first thoughts were, hey, she just must be dreaming then, I guess.
I thought legitimately split personality.
Oh,
I thought we were gonna go Fight Club here. And I was all in about this. I was like, "Oh wait, she doesn't remember what she's doing. This is Tyler. Oh, okay. Like, let's go." Because it was very, a solid curveball,
yeah.
thrown in here, because I wasn't sure what to exactly expect. And I was like, okay, wait, how did she just wake up? Was she dreaming all this? Like, what's playing out here? And to see that kind of slow build about it, I thought really, really hit the ground running.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was like, oh, all right. Because if that was the direction they were going to go, man, I would have been down for that as well. But clearly that's not the case, because this is a character named Osha. Make all the jokes you will. She's working on a. Osha is her character's name. And now she's getting arrested by the Jedi who we see coming in. Um, Led by, this really, I'm intrigued by this Jedi personally, Yord, right here.
Mhm.
He's somebody who stands on business. I want to get to some of the things that he does in a minute, but they basically arrest her. And one of the things that, just the Jedi are always making dumb decisions. They leave her by herself with a bunch of robots and other prisoners on this spaceship, and are like, all right, see you back at Coruscant. And it's just like, what?
Yeah.
It,
Like I
it,
say, yeah, his introduction was great, and I think like how they're just how they rolled out everybody pretty much. I thought they did a good job about just giving you enough to give you an idea, but they didn't fully do a great reveal. So you're not like
yeah.
completely like, oh, I know exactly what they're doing.
Oh yeah, that's one thing that they did a really great job on, is they're introducing characters. They're introducing one thing that really sets this apart is their robes. If you
Yes.
anybody like the High Republic era, it's more clean. It kind of feels almost like a doctor's office if you think about it, with the white aesthetic, the gold that's all around. The even the brown robes that some of the guys use. And another thing that I noticed too, as we'll roll into more so in episode 2, was it seems like there's different factions of Jedi, on like different temples. There's a lot more temples. So like the Coruscant, for example, Jedi were in their white robes, whereas in the next episode, when we'll get there, we see Jedi in brown robes. So they kind of have like their tribes, so to speak.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, from this point, something they're on the ship. The group of bad guys is like, "Hey, do you want to escape with us? Let's get out of here, Jedi killer." And she's like, "No, I'm not about that. I don't want to do this. I'm innocent." She's pleading her innocence. They pretty much screw her over to leave her to die. They get out. And one really cool thing I think they added into this was the madman was laying on the floor and he had a parasite.
Hmm.
That's another callback, because those are things that have been like, if you've read novels, they allude to that. It's basically a parasite that subdues and keeps you in your mind and things like that. Um, it's really cool callback. The droids again who are left to pilot the ship, they are now taken out. She escapes with the newest droid that you're going to find everywhere at Disney, Pip. And I'd be very surprised if you don't go to the droid depot tomorrow and there's already Pip droids running around everywhere, because that everybody seems to love Pip. It's like a Game Boy that is actually helpful, essentially, is the vibe I got.
How great was that? Like I say, to see the droid in that sense, and I fully agree with you. That's going to be the new Grogu. Like
Oh yeah,
everybody's going to be looking for it this summer and then into the fall for Christmas.
yeah. I without a doubt, like come on, they're gonna sell some toys. That's what they're doing. That's what they're here for. And that was really cool. Like you could take his head off, and there was different ways. It's things that we haven't really seen with droids before. Being able to mechanically use him in different actions, and maybe she has a little Skywalker blood in her, because she managed to strap herself into the seat and crash lands upon this mysterious planet. And that's kind of where we see her left there, not really sure what's going on. And at that point, this is where we go to Coruscant for the first time and meet a couple of Jedi by the names
Mhm.
of Jedi Master Soul and Jedi Master Venestra. They are basically talking, like I talked about. They got the white robes, and it's revealed that Soul was her master at a point, and she came on as a Padawan when she was 8 years old. Sound kind of familiar?
Yeah, I was gonna say that definitely doesn't. And like I said, I love how the pictures and all the pictures you're using too are from Lucasfilms. Definitely want to make sure about shouting
Yes.
them out as that as well. to see his reaction, like I say, during all of this. I don't know, chat, super chat, throw your vote in about this as well. Did you really think that he was on the up and up? Because I've got feelings that there's more to him than he's letting on.
Yeah, I would definitely there's so it comes to find out that there's 4 Jedi that she's after. They did something a long time ago. And there's definitely something that they've been hiding, and you can kind of see it underlying whenever he talks. Like he's holding something back, and he's very, very giddy to go and find Osha himself, because he believes it. Kind of reminds me of Qui Gon a bit, obviously too.
Yes.
I got a lot of Qui Jinn vibes, who kind of they believe in their own intuition, don't really rely on the Jedi at large. And one thing that I found extremely interesting was, man, let's talk about the fact that this whole line is we can't let our political opponents find out. I
Mhm.
mean, what were you thinking at this point? They're Jedi, like, and they're worried about politics?
See, I have said this once, I'll say this a million times. I don't think the Empire was wrong in anything they were doing because I think the Jedi is the root of all evil in the universe. And I think that we've seen time and time again, they pull some really shady tactics. This was one of them. That the Jedi, for being so noble and, such on a plateau, they're really showing they're not. Like, let's be honest about this.
I mean, Soul even kind of shows a little bit of shadiness when they
Mhm.
have the captured prisoners and they find the one guy who left her for dead, after she let him loose. He basically does the Jedi mind trick, except for he reads and get into his mind, which is something
Yeah.
we've seen Kylo Ren doing in the newer movies.
Mhm.
That was rather interesting, seeing a Jedi kind of lean into some of those things, because you don't really typically see it in the Skywalker saga. Whereas here, it's like, no, no, they're not afraid to use the Force.
Yeah. I fully agree with you. I mean, I think that's also tipping a hand about something too. But I'm waiting to see if they're going to go where I think they're going to go. I mean, it's 2 episodes in, definitely room to speculate. But
Oh yeah,
I've already put together some theories about this. But yeah, with how that was going down to, and especially the use of the Force in that manner,
oh yeah. I,
that's a little something something.
I have some theories. We'll have to get some theories before we wrap this up, just to kind of see where we can look back on. But this is kind of where Soul gets the clearance to go. Him and Yord and Jecki, they take their ship and they go to this planet to go and find her on planet Karlak. And right from the get go, the reason why I like Yord is he pulls out his saber right away in the cave. He a yellow saber. A lot of people are like, you can have yellow lightsabers. Yeah, actually, the High Republic is really known for having yellow, red, or not red, sorry, excuse me, green, blue, yellow. Yellow is a very clean aesthetic for them, which again, George Lucas used to be all about blue, red, and green as the lightsaber colors. Sam
Mhm.
Jackson changed that for the better, mind you. I think you should
Yes.
be able to have any color, in my opinion.
But yeah, I think so too. Because I think if it's just dictated to be a certain way, that's really not the Jedi way, is it?
No, I don't, and there's a lot of things that are not the Jedi way. Uh, at this point, we see May, or excuse me, it's Osha. At this point, she's, hey, it's not me. I think May is alive. Soul's like, I believe you, and that's just when she falls off the side, and he again uses the Force to stop her very abruptly, which I thought was again another really really cool moment. And they're like, hey, no, I believe you. I don't think you're wrong. They are call there at this point to back there at the Jedi attempt, or back in Coruscant, it's like, hey, we need to go find who's behind this, and that's kind of where we leave episode 1 off. The one thing I will say about this is it ends kind of abruptly. Both episodes kind of did. It felt like there
Yeah.
should have been a little more, but they just ended the episodes.
Well, I think they got to a certain degree that they were like, okay, trying to figure out what the audience was going to be buying into. And I think that when they tried going for the abrupt end, they wanted to have everybody kind of go, like, what happened? And I think, unfortunately, it didn't click that way.
Yeah.
I just feel that, like, yeah, they to stop on a drop of a dime like that, especially when you're trying to establish new characters, I don't think that works out as well as they like to believe it does. And I think that really showed here.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, because it feels like you're just now starting to get to know these characters. And this is where episode 2 kind of picks up, where, or, we get a little glimpse. I believe it was episode 1 where we see May showing up at the Rock, and we get our first hint at the Sith who's wearing the helmet. He's talking to her about how she needs to essentially kill these Jedi. And the whole big thing, like, if you don't know what an acolyte is, Um,
I love the quote they used about that to explain like how the mysterious Sith leader was saying about the Acolyte and, their true way of doing, the task at hand, so to speak.
yeah. So yeah, there's basically what they have to do is they are required to kill a Jedi. The acolytes don't get a chance to get a lightsaber. Their whole thing is they need to kill a Jedi, steal a Jedi's lightsaber, anything of that nature, and then that's how they will be taken apprentice. Because in the rule of two, Darth Bane felt that the Sith were very weak in numbers.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I agree with you. Like I said, when they started, thinking they're weak in numbers and they're really trying to stack the deck like that, I think that definitely threw a few things off. And like I
Yeah.
say, the screenshot you got up there too of Carrie Ann Moss, and like I say, her character too. And I'm waiting to see what happens with her moving forward because that backstory I think is really going to play out a little bit.
Oh, there's something they did something really, real. They had to have done something evil enough to kind of bury because in episode two we kind of get sent to Olega, which there's a Jedi outpost on the planet Olega, and at that point they May sneaks into this Jedi temple and she comes upon a Jedi Master Torben who has been basically in a a state of just hanging out. He's floating. His eyes are closed. He hasn't spoken a word in a decade. And they're like, all right, he has a force energy around him. She tries to penetrate it, penetrate it, penetrate it. She can't do it. And
Mhm.
again, because she's trying to complete her task to get revenge on these Jedi and also probably become the Sith apprentice, because I have a feeling that this Sith that we have is a apprentice to a master, and now he's trying to overtake his master, but they can't do that unless the Sith themselves bring on their own apprentice, which is the whole ancestral kind of way that the Sith are. And she basically, one thing I didn't like about this, so I'm not sold on May. I think is my big thing with her. I'm not totally sold on May as a character yet.
Yeah.
Just her dialogue felt, she shows up as, I want you to fight me with everything you have, and then she does her thing,
Yeah.
and
I, no, I agree with you. I mean, I felt that was rushed, and that really was just, if you're trying to establish her character and really be something, I thought just it felt too much like, we say in WWE terms for video games, create a wrestler. Like it just seemed
yeah,
like this is just very generic for a background. And it didn't really have anything of substance. I mean, we find out with episode 2, we start getting that substance. But yeah, I think off the initial gate there, it was like, wait, what is going on here?
right. I mean, she's got force abilities, which we clearly see, and so she's got skills. She's walking around in like this purple get up. She's not really blending in as well as one would think. Even though the High Republic is very much a flashier era, if you will. So from that point, she escapes as the Jedi enter Torben's temple, or where he's going, and they don't somehow see her escape to the top. But I'll
Mm.
leave that bit alone. That kind of was like, all right, I'll leave that one alone. I can let that go.
Yeah.
And so Torben, if you guys don't know him, he actually was in the movie 1917. He's a pretty big named actor, so I'm kind of surprised that again he was another kind of bigger name actor that really, for now, because I think they're going to show what happened obviously on screen later on, but we don't really get a whole lot initially from him. But at this point, we see Osho awake on Master Soul's ship to find Jeki having technical problems. Osha advises how to fix it because she's kind of like a very big technical expert. They talk about her qualifications as a mechanic, and Pip kind of gets offended when Osha suggests that she's more flexible than a droid. At
Yeah.
that point, droids are always getting offended. Like everyone's always hating on the droids, man.
Mhm.
And one thing I wanted to point about Osha too is she actually left the Jedi Order again. Like
Yes.
she left it. She was training as a Jedi, and she left the Jedi Order 6 years before this takes place, which I found interesting. She didn't train very long because if she got found at 8, she's got to be like 23.
Yeah, that was another loophole I know we're gonna go back to, but it's like if you had to leave because of personal reasons, there's something going on there that is really gonna draw some red flags. And I think
Yeah,
somewhere and especially with her character too, because then it's also a question of like, was it really her? Was it really May? Like I say, they've kind of given themselves a little leeway to kind of go into a couple different directions.
Yeah, I guess my other overall issue is I don't know how I feel about the whole twin aspect because to part of it feels like a cop out in a way to me. I guess
Yeah.
that's one thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think for right now, it's just kind of interesting to see if that is, or could it be a shapeshifter? Like maybe
Yo,
something
yeah,
like that. Like I say, I'd love to see a real curveball like that because I do agree with you. I think the twin sister dead but back to life is really, I don't want to say cliche, but I think it's something that coming out and really introducing the High Republic, I think they, in my opinion, I think they could have been a little stronger with if that is truly the case.
right. I think they do have some things up their sleeve from kind of the rumblings I'm hearing from people who have seen the first 4 episodes. I don't know what happens. I got some theories about what happened, but people like Yord are also like, why are we bringing her with us? Like, why are
Hmm.
we? He's kind of not really jiving with her too well. He wants to know like what Soul is so intent on bringing her. What's his problem? And at that point, Soul is basically like, hey, don't let fear cloud your judgment, and just kind of lets that go. He just hand waves it, kind of like Jedi Masters get known for. They're like, whatever.
Yeah.
It is interesting how that's like their Jedi, like don't question a Jedi Master essentially.
Yeah, like, I understand it's early in the days of the Jedi per se, but it's like, yeah, there's a lot of just blind trust in the
Yeah.
Jedis, and we've seen this even going into, the Shadows of Starlight that we just recently talked about in Turn of Page. Like,
Yes.
there's just so much blind trust in the Jedis that this is what causes to backfire more times than not, and nobody ever picks up on that.
They really the trusting. It is the trusting and the arrogance, which is I feel like you can't be arrogant and trusting, in my opinion. I feel like they're just kind of as a double standard, but that's another conversation. Because meanwhile, as they're traveling to the planet um, Alega, this is where we reconvene with May, and she finds our friend Koimir, who is like this bum, kind of has taken over. He's making potions. She asks him to essentially make a poison to kill this Jedi and break the force field. And so he offers to do it. But I have a vibe. What is your vibe about him? Because I have some thoughts.
Well, chat, super chat, definitely throw in your vibe about Torben as well. There's something weird going on with him, and especially as we find out he has a connection with the previous victim. There is something that happened at that fire that has caused him to have so much emotional guilt that
Yeah.
there is a conspiracy they're covering up.
Oh, big time. Big
Yeah.
time. And also with him, he's tracking all of May's progress with killing Jedi. He knows all about the Jedi whereabouts. He knows a lot more than somebody who isn't up to something. I think that he's playing the fool and he might actually be either the Sith master or he is the guy behind the helmet.
Mm,
That's my thoughts about him. I kind of feel like he knows a little too much. And he also kind of disarmed her a little too easily when they kind of got into their thing. There was a flash there that he did it a little easy.
yeah.
That
Yeah, there's something definitely fishy going on there.
Yeah, there's something. So at that point, though, he goes ahead, gives it. He suggests also that peace and serenity are a lie. Now I'm just saying, sounds an awful lot like something a Sith would say.
Mm,
Yeah, and that's what Torben wants is peace of absolution. And at that point, she drops the potion in front of him, and says a couple things, and he comes down, it says he's sorry for what happened. He never meant for that, and then he willingly drinks the potion. Like, interesting.
yeah, I have to agree. Like, I thought that was just for me. I just saw like it was too open and shut. Like,
Yeah,
I will say, out of both episodes, this was probably my least favorite part of both because
agreed.
it just seemed like if you have Torben, very involved in whatever happened at this fire, and you take him off the board in the matter of minutes, it's like, why are we even wasting our time on him? Because I can understand with Carrie Ann Moss's character why we, to establish that's a big shock when it
Yeah,
happens. Sure. But with Torben, especially with his thing that he's been meditating for over a decade, that's why his force is like all types of like omega level.
yeah,
To see him just ultimately go like, yeah, you're right, I'm to blame. it's me, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me, and go out the way that he does. It's like it just felt like a massive letdown, and I struggle with that just to go like, if we're trying to establish this fire that has been the lead domino to fall is so big and all the suspects are now getting taken off. He's gone in a matter of moments, and we still have 6 episodes left, and there's 2 people still involved.
Yeah.
I think they gave him way too much time for me to even invest in the character. I was like, oh, he's got super force, and okay, he's gone. Like,
Yeah. He's meditating. He's really strong. There's something here. He's got you can't see it on one eye. Like it looks like he lost an eye and there's some battle scars there. So you're like, oh, okay, we're going to get something good. And then he's just
yeah,
like, yep, here's a potion. All right, shots. And he's dead.
yeah. Like
It was,
I just thought it was, in my opinion, I thought it was bad writing. That's just me.
yeah, I fully agree. I did not like that death. I don't like the fact that she now I don't have a problem with her as a character. It's more about like she has now killed 2 Jedi masters and she doesn't even have power of the force or things herself. Now, this take that for what you will, and I'd love to hear what super chat has to say about this one. But it kind of feels like wrestling, right? We've
Mhm.
overbooked a character to be this strong character, and you're just not the crowd's not fully behind her yet. And maybe a lot of you guys are. Maybe we're in the minority, and that's okay. There's a whole lot of ball game left, as I like to say, but something just doesn't feel right there with these 2 Jedi Masters off the board. One, okay, I can feel it, but Torben, now that's 2 people who are at this fire. And to come to find out, May thought Osha was dead. Osha thought May was dead, which leads us to believe there's still a lot more. There's really something that really bad that had to have happened if one sister thinks the other one's dead and they didn't realize.
I'm fully banking we're gonna get a flashback episode around episode 6. Like, we
Yeah,
need to see what happened involving that fire. There's no way they can go on much longer and try teasing about, who was responsible for it. It's just like with everybody's reactions to what is stemmed out of it is like they're gonna tell the audience one way or another. But I
yeah,
just think that's like they really have to have a very big reason for all the involvement. And seeing how everybody's reacting, like, it has to be a big payoff. Like, I think there's now more pressure on that moment of the story that if it doesn't deliver, I could see a lot of reaction going very negative.
yeah. I would agree because they've placed so much emphasis on this that you have to stick the landing. I
Yeah.
don't think they will, hopefully, because I almost wonder like it has to be something bad. They had to like, what if they slaughtered the village? Like, not to go dark, but like, what if the Jedi went there and ended up killing the whole village and they kidnapped kids for the Force to take them, like something like that? That's where my mind kind of goes because it's pretty dark at that point.
I'm right on the same page with you. I think
Yeah,
they're responsible. Like, just of how Soul is acting too. Like, I think that he has really been a standout character so far in 2 episodes, but it also feels like he's covering his tracks at
yeah,
every move. And it's almost like, are you really a Sith trying to be a Jedi and nobody's questioning you? Or are you really somebody that has been under the radar that you're now going to get exposed for whatever reason? Like I say, there's just so many different variables you can go with it. But it all goes back to that fire sequence, and they really need to deliver on that. Because I think
yeah.
if they don't land a perfect 10 with that, it's really going to hurt the buildup they've been doing to it because they've now in 2 episodes, like, that's been the focus. It's even been more of a focus than the twins.
Yeah,
It's literally been that fire has to be like a defining moment in Star Wars history, in my opinion.
I would agree. The driving force behind everybody's motivations, and I think you're right. With Soul, it feels like he's overly invested in Osha to the point like I always think back to, all right, well, they can't let their political opponents know. So if this is really truly that bad, there's 2 survivors now from this night, whatever happened. Maybe he's overly invested and needs to be on the scene because hey, they need to not let their political opponents know that Jedi did whatever it might have been at this point, which could be. I want to see that side of the Jedi. I'm kind
Yeah.
of hoping like that's where we go because this point is essentially where the Jedi start to create their downfall. We're 100 years before the Phantom Menace. Come that point, the High Republic era is over. The Sith are coming on back on the scene. All of that stuff. So it's very interesting. Like Kiadi Monday didn't realize the Sith were even around. So now we're playing in territory right now where there are Sith around. So it's interesting how they're going to probably hide and cover this up potentially.
Mhm.
And yeah, man, like this is the Jedi hubris starts to get to him. And now we kind of comes to a head in this episode where May is on the run. You've got Yord up there using binoculars, watching Soul and May fight, which is kind of funny to me because
Yeah.
I think he was recording it almost though. I think he was recording because it looked like a red light was blinking, but it
Mm.
also could have been a binoculars. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, there's something going on there. I think he was recording. I think because he needs to produce some visual evidence to
Yeah.
somebody.
Which reminds me, speaking of, the Jedi are very quick to kind of persecute, as we've seen with Ahsoka and Osha now. Like, there's
Yeah.
no room for you're innocent. It's you're guilty right off the bat. With
Well,
all, it's interesting.
that's why I say they're the root of all evil in the universe. Like I say, you see how they're doing this. Like I say, I'm starting to understand how the Empire is thinking. They're just like, look what they're doing. You can understand why we all went crazy.
I tend to align more with Sith. That's why, like, when I went and built my lightsaber, it's the power lightsaber. And my lightsaber is red because the Jedi, dude, they are up to shady stuff always. And you
Hmm.
see it here. They're hiding something. Then Mace Windu is over here being an a-hole. Yoda himself, I've gone on about this at lengths, how they deserved it at this point. And
Yeah.
back to this fight too, like Soul is basically toying with her. They're having another really cool hand-to-hand combat moment. Like we're getting some really cool force moments here. Um, but until May essentially uses what equates to pocket sand when Jackie flies overhead and she sees the sand and she decides to disappear in a fit of like pocket sand. Um, and from there, the episode kind of ends after something really cool. Again, we actually see this. We see Soul reading minds again when he stops May from falling. He reads her mind again and gets in there.
Yeah.
Like, he's again the Jedi tampering with people's minds. And then to kind of cap this episode off, May and Osha run into each other, and that's essentially where this episode ends. So now we're a little bit more like, all right, what is happening? What is going on? What are your kind of ongoing theories and thoughts of where we're kind of headed?
Well, I think it's ultimately going on Maze on her revenge tour.
Yeah.
And I think that Soul is responsible for something. And whether he is playing the sisters against each other, which I think he is now that he knows both are alive,
Mm,
I think that he's the ultimate wild card in this series.
yeah.
And I think that for May, she's still on her hit list because that's literally all she knows. Like there is no plan B, is only this list or nothing. And I
Yeah.
think for Osha, she's just trying to piece together my sister's alive. I thought she was dead. I'm now left the Jedi's, but now I'm back with them reluctantly, but I'm here because I need to solve this mystery myself. And then you just got Soul in the background, working his magic, dark magic at this stage, because I'm not doubting him mind wiping people and doing some very heinous stuff
Yeah.
that's very un-Jedi like. And this is just, building on the characters. Because, like, in all honesty, after 2 episodes, they're the only 3 that are standing out right now.
Oh
And
yeah.
granted, we still have 6 more episodes to go, but those 3, that's the trinity of the show that you need to kind of just really focus in on and really, connect on that point. Because after that, like, nobody else has really had a breakout moment so far. Now, granted, 2 episodes in, this is what happens. But in this situation, this is something that with May's story, she's going to keep going until she gets everybody off her list, so to speak, if she can. But I'm also wondering if Soul's just doing this to make sure she finishes the job. Like he's ultimately behind this. He's ultimately her Sith mentor.
Oh man. All right. So this kind of makes me think. I got some thoughts coming from this. I like that. Honestly, I really kind of hope that's where they go because
Yeah,
again, with Quimir, I'm
Quimer.
awful. Yes. I'm telling you, he's connected to what is going on with the Sith. I think he's it. But if Soul turns out to be the ultimate Sith master in some regard, and I also have a feeling that I think when this all is said and done, I have a strong suspicion that perhaps Osha might be the one to fall to the dark side and to maybe pick up some Sith tendencies and everything like that. Like I kind of am thinking like
Mhm.
maybe we get this bait and switch and perhaps that's the route they might go.
I love seeing that. You know, in fact, I won't even doubt that May gets killed and OSHA steps in her place.
Yeah,
That
that's
almost, like I say, I don't trust the Jedi's as far as I could force throw them.
yeah, I
And
don't either.
yeah, and that's why I say I think Soul is working everything behind the scenes. This is almost like Sopranos, like that you're just
Oh
seeing. You
yeah.
know, he's the head of the Jedi crime family of this scenario,
I mean,
and
Jedi are really crime bosses. Let's talk about. I mean, seriously,
yeah,
they
they
are.
serious. Yeah, they have everybody fooled that they're just the good guys of the or the good force of the universe, I should say. Excuse me, and we've seen time and time again that they have just done some very nefarious things,
Oh yeah, and they don't.
and
They still sleep well at night about it too.
yeah, and so that's why I say, like, shouldn't anybody be picking up Soul's vibe here? And like, there's not another Jedi that's questioning right now, unless, of course, somebody's playing the long game and waiting to see him slip up, and that's when they're going to strike. But
Mm,
still, it's like, they get into this weird cat and mouse dance there, and
yeah,
it's interesting to see how this ships up. But like I say, I wouldn't doubt. We've heard rumblings of season 2 already that I don't doubt that OSHA does take over for May. That May doesn't make it out of this season.
yeah. I would like that because how long can they keep going with the twin aspect? First of all, I
Yeah.
wouldn't. They plus anytime there's multiple people, like someone's gonna lose a hand in Star Wars, and someone's gonna lose a sibling. Those are things that just kind of happen, and I definitely think that's going to happen because we also like this mysterious Sith character that we got a back shot of who ignited his lightsaber for 30 seconds. He has a voice modulator, or she could be a she.
Mhm.
They have a voice modulator. Again, they're hiding their voice, which leads to a lot of cool theories. And I think that's kind of exciting. And I think this is a spy thriller. Disney has pitched to us, Lucasfilms has pitched to us that right from the get go, Acolyte is a spy thriller. You don't really know. And I think if to do a good spy thriller, you got to throw some curveballs in there.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that's what we're setting up for, I think. And it sucks. We got to wait a week, but that's why, I'm trying to pump the brakes. I don't want this to be a Mephisto situation now. I'm really trying to pump the brakes. But the more I kind of think about it, the more I'm like, oh, this could be because at this point the Sith are in hiding, and he's sending her out to do their bidding. And how does this all play into how the future Star Wars works? Because they thought the Sith had been gone for a millennia, but it turns out they weren't always that way. So I guess we're gonna find out.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely in for the ride here. And I think this is one thing that fans really need to take hold of because instantly there's been a lot of negative reaction.
Yeah.
And in the words of Aaron Rodgers,
Oh no.
RELAX, sorry, I don't mean to bring up old wounds,
Those are
but
the happy times. That's when he was actually saying really good things, and now he's just if he was talking about Star Wars right now, God knows what he'd be on about.
yeah, but I think that fans though need to just let this ride out. And we
Yeah.
have to give it not so much expecting a first episode home run. I think that we've unfortunately been spoiled that we've had such great series as X-Men 97 come out lately
Mm,
and really set a high bar out the gate. And I think that for Star Wars, Ahsoka really knocked it out of the park.
yeah.
And to hear that there's another Star Wars live action, there is a level of excitement it's hard to reach. But I think in certain cases, such as what we have here with the Acolyte, fans just need to let this play out and really see where we go when we start getting to like episode 3 and episode 4. And if they've already tuned out, then that's on their loss. But as we've seen with so many other stories that have come out in the comics and in the books, the High Republic is a very important time and it's a wide open playing field. So we should be enjoying the creative freedom that we're getting and let the creators really run with it and then see how this all shapes up. Because if we get to episode 4 and we're still not established where we need to be, then I can understand some criticism about it. But for two episodes in, this is 2 more episodes of Star Wars we didn't have before. So I'm enjoying this.
Very true. Very, very, very true. Very good point. Number one is think back to a lot of people's favorite shows. Oftentimes, it takes about one season, if it's multiple season show, for
Mhm.
shows really to find their footing. Now we're putting that pressure on, and now we're 2 episodes in. I think considering they found their footing relatively like sure we're still got some questions. Sure, there's like some characters that are on shaky ground, but I think relatively speaking, they've done a great job building this universe, showing us a lot of things. Um, Kind of different. First of all, we already seen a bunch of different planets, and then we've also seen a bunch of different species in the Star Wars universe, which is something that people have complained about. And so they've already done a really good job there. And I honestly, if like they hit this High Republic era out the park, which read the comics, read the books, because Charles Soule really is the one that launched the High Republic, and he's doing a killer
Mhm.
job. But a lot of fans have been clamoring for the Old Republic era, and I think if fans and they do well with the High Republic era, I think we're going to start seeing stories going further and further back.
I agree. I think that it all hinges on the success of these shows. And now I'm not saying that everybody needs to watch them,
Yeah, you don't
but
have to watch them, or you don't have to like them all.
right. But I think that we have to see the success of a different era not involve Skywalker or Vader. And
Yeah,
I think that if fans are willing to give it a shot, it will work. I mean, to touch back on what you were saying, it took me 5 episodes to get into Game of Thrones.
yeah,
I could not stand the beginning of that season because it took too long to begin establishing who is who. But once you get to that point, it's like, okay, now it's starting to click in, and now it's starting to work here, and now it's starting to really play out. And seeing that shape up, that does work a ton of wonders.
hard agree. And so as we kind of wrap up our chat here about the first 2 episodes of the Acolyte, man, which every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern is which perfect. You know what? This is a perfect segue actually, because you know what happens on Tuesdays, Ken, a little show that we like to do called Turn a
Yeah.
Page. So why don't you let people know what Turn a Page is all about?
Turn a Page is the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. So if you want to hear about the latest and greatest in comic news, you want to talk to some of the best creators going in the game today, or you want to take a deep dive into a story of the past, that's the place you go every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Nerd Initiative YouTube and streaming network. And we'll definitely be there. We got some interviews lined up, some things Matt doesn't even know about yet that we've been working the phones today. So stay tuned, ... But we have one lined up for next week as well. So, and a great one this past week with, I always say it's weird to say he's a guest because he's family of the show, but
He
that's
really
Alan
is.
Dunford. Yeah, it's Alan Dunford, who has a great Kickstarter campaign out right now. Grandma Chainsaw Volume 4 is out there. QR code is on the screen there, so definitely make sure you click it. Give him all the money because it's a great series, and his team at Rabbit and Hat Studios is absolutely crushing it. DIY as it comes, man. So super proud of that. And like I say, every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Nerd Initiative is the place to go for Turn a Page. And then that leads into the most wonderful day of the week, and that's Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when the reviews start dropping for New Comic Book Day. The bullpen is absolutely doing such amazing work. Nobody's doing what we're doing over there. So today, strong day of reviews, kicking off with Scarlett from Skybound Entertainment and Image Comics, and wrapping up with one that just dropped right now, and that's Amazing Spider-Man 51 from Marvel. So we've been doing a lot of work. So if you want comic book recommendations, nobody does like the Nerd Initiative bullpen.
True. And I think you do another show too, which is a little wrestling night.
Yeah, a little bit. If you want to talk some pro wrestling with the best of the best, the most imitated but never duplicated show on wrestling streaming, that is Wrestling Night Live, where Rich, New Guy Nick, and yours truly talk everything AEW, WWE, GCW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and so much more. It is the best of the best of pro wrestling. We always have a constructive and positive criticism and conversation with everybody too. So it's a very, very fan friendly show to come in and talk some pro wrestling with the best of the best.
Absolutely. And then let's wrap up, man. What tell us a little about the ODPH, where people can find you, what you got coming down.
Oh man, 4 episodes this week. It's crazy. I don't know why, I don't know how, but we did it.
Artist
If you
working
want,
man in comics, it's right up there behind your head.
that's true. That's my plaque there that stands on the wall. But yeah, if you want to talk to myself and Padawan Jay and talk a parlay of topics, whether we're talking sports this week, NBA playoffs, or in high swing, UFC 302 Fallout is going on. The lot happened in WWE. We got a sports edition that is out. We talk the Acolyte tonight on the latest entertainment edition. Plus, talk a little thing about what's going on with Marvel Comics. They made some announcements, and plus a brand new James Gunn Superman casting. So we have some thoughts on that. That's on the entertainment edition. Plus, I got the chance, along with our pop culture connoisseur at Nerd Initiative, Tom Craven, to talk to Kelly Thompson and Marco Ferrari about Scarlet One from Skybound Entertainment and Image Comics. That video is actually going to be coming out. An image video is going to be coming out tomorrow on Nerd Initiative YouTube only. So you definitely want to make sure you're subscribed up for that. And we have the Alan Dunford interview dropping as well tomorrow from Turn a Page on the ODPH Podcast Network, because we're going to be doing some shifting around where Turn a Page is only going to be YouTube exclusive, but the interviews that we do with the creators are going to be optioned to ODPH and Hops Geeks News, respectively.
Oh man, we really are. I gotta say, man, if you're not following, subscribing, everybody out there in the chat, super chat, let us know what you've been reading, what you've been watching aside from the Acolyte. Yes, we're talking Star Wars tonight. I will probably be hopefully doing some more post Acolyte shows because it's just a really great time. And man, today was kickoff. It's a Wednesday. It's a new comic book day. Go to your local comic book shop. There's a lot of really good High Republic comic books out there right now. If you don't know where to start, trust me, just pick one up. The stories that are coming out of the High Republic era in particular right now
Yeah.
are crazy good. They're doing a really great job. And then, man, for me personally, real quick, Hops Geek News, that's where Lauren and I each and every week we just dropped actually an episode on the High Republic
Yes,
where if
great
you
episode.
scan this, we give you a little breakdown about how it started, and then I also give you some reading recommendations. So if you're very interested in this universe that's being built, the expanded universe that we're getting in Star Wars, click that QR code. But really, man, the best thing that you can do here as well, if you want more of the content that we're doing, is go ahead, subscribe to us on YouTube. Like Ken was saying, man, we are going to be doing Turn a Page, which is a excellent show at 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday nights. It's exclusive to YouTube. The easiest way to do it, click for the notifications, and do that for anybody. If you clicked on any QR code here tonight, make sure you do that as well to
Mhm.
let everybody know. Support everybody. You click the QR code in the top corner to find your local comic book shop as well. And also, man, don't forget Mondays. Tom, the pop culture connoisseur, has been doing some really cool things with the Doctor Who universe
Yes.
as we are in this new season of Doctor Who. So there's just a lot of stuff. If you haven't been following, man, it's never too late. Never too late. I know we threw a fire hose of information at you, but one last thing we got to do, because you know what? If you like what you see on Nerd Initiative, get yourself some merch, man. We got
Hell
hats,
yeah.
we got hoodies, we got shirts. There's some designs in the works. Rep at your favorite local Comic Con. If you're going to San Diego Comic Con next month, man, find just rep that Nerd Initiative. You're like, I don't know what to wear. Man, I have so many things. Man, throw in the Nerd Initiative. You're probably going to see some of
Mhm.
our folks there. Sean is going to be there from Metalcore
Yes.
Nerds. He is our TV guru. He is going to be there. Unfortunately, I won't be there this year, although Michael did offer me a pass. I will be unfortunately out, but next year there's that, and then of course New York City Comic Con, Nerd Initiative will have a big presence there. So
Oh yeah.
easiest
Yeah.
thing, check it out.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to get on board with the home of pop culture positivity, check out the website. There is something there for your fandom. And if it's not there, trust me, it's probably on the way. So as we like to say, stay tuned, ...
Absolutely right. Now, stay tuned for another show. There's another Nerd Initiative show going on right after us. Make sure you check that one out, as there is a road show happening for the lead up to Deadpool and Wolverine. Check it out, man. Doing lots of great things. And you know what? I'm going to play the Turn a Page outro because I love the song so much. So everybody, this has been a special not Turn a Page,
Yes.
but today is New Comic Book Day, so you know what to do. Go to your local comic book shop. And Ken, you take us out. Take us out with your Turn a Page.
Well, it's very simple. When you're at the comic shops and you have a great issue in your hand, such as anything involving Star Wars, the High Republic, because it's reflecting the Acolyte, and you see somebody struggling to pick up a book of their own, hand yours off to them. Tell them to turn a page. We'll see you next week.
Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to